Hello, and welcome to episode 36 of the Player 3 podcast. Sorry we were gone last week. I had the stomach flu. It was awful.
And gross.
And gross and awful and very bad. And gross. And then I got dehydrated. But then we came back strong with 3 Topic Thursday, and we streamed some Reba McEntire PGA Tour Golf 2016. That's what Diz kept calling. He was like, "You're going to play some Reba McEntire." Anyway, I'm your host, Luke Croft. Alongside me, we have the always visually stunning Larry Hunt.
Hello.
And sitting on my other side, he can fix you a nice, delicious glass of Pepsi and steal your daughter's heart. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Martin.
Yeah, it's not my name.
That is your name.
All right, whatever.
Turd Ferguson. It's a big hat. It's funny.
It's funny.
It's a big hat. It's funny.
Oh, man. Chad is going crazy, wanting us to kiss each other.
Who is Chad?
Calling me fat. It's just...
So you know this cat?
No.
Oh, okay.
But
Chat, not Chad.
Oh, I think it's a Chad.
Oh, all right. How you guys doing?
I'm just exhausted.
I'm well rested now.
My daughter has begun the full-fledged teething this week,
Mm.
and so I'm not mentally sharp today.
You've been doled down by being chewed on so much.
Right.
All right. That sounds disgusting. And sort of hot. But mostly gross.
You bite your tongue.
But mostly gross.
Which
All right.
Remy can do now. Bite her tongue.
Hey,
Ooh,
congratulations.
Thanks.
Ben isn't dead. He's in Florida at Disney World. Who goes to Disney World?
In
I've
the
never
summer.
been to Disney World.
In the
Do
summer.
you have either of you have a desire to go to Disney World?
I would like to go. Kind of like the reason I went to Universal the one time I've been to Florida for a day. I was in Florida for like 4 days, but I went to Universal. I had no interest in riding the rides. I'm a big baby. I rode one roller coaster just so I could say that I had done it. And I was miserable. I said terrible things on that roller coaster in front of children and God and everyone else. But I like the experience. It's really cool to be like in the middle of all that energy and like see kind of that Harry Potter part of Universal. It was so real. I felt like I was right there, except for the guys in shorts selling me butterbeer. All those muggles selling me butterbeer.
I feel like you should have to dress up to work that part of the park.
I think they did actually, but you could tell.
You could tell they weren't real.
They were really well trained though, because like I was with one of my professors from college and his family, and the guy asked like, "Hey, what's in this stuff, man? This is awesome." And the guy, without blinking, he was like, "Only the house elves know, sir."
See, that's why I couldn't go there. Because here's the thing: as much as it may just be they're well trained, part of it's probably those people actually believe they're wizards.
Possible.
Maybe they are.
And I'm terrified of people in those costumes, like with masks and like the big helmet masks.
No, they didn't have those on. That'd
But
be a Disney World.
Yeah,
thing.
I'm talking about Disney World
Okay.
and just anywhere. I have zero desire. I hate children. I hate lines. I hate riding rides, and I hate heat. So Disney World is like completely.
See,
out
I
of
went
the
in
question.
March, which was freezing here, but it was just it was like a cool 70 degrees all week long.
You want to go when it's cool and it's a school day.
That's exactly what I did, actually.
Oh, so your
Living the
experience was
dream.
probably.
It was
all
still
right.
pretty busy, but not like nearly as much as I'm sure it is at the summertime when you can't breathe and you might get trampled.
I believe an amusement park is the worst place you could be when the zombie apocalypse starts.
Oh, naturally.
Why is that?
Because there are just so many people, and most of them are out of shape tourists who are definitely going to get bit.
Something
think
that
about
we may
how
very
much
well
hand
see in
sanitizer
Fear the
they
Walking Dead.
Huh?
Something we may very well see during Fear the Walking
That
Dead.
would be really cool.
Think about how much
Phil Spencer make it happen.
hand sanitizer and fanny packs they have there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the benefit.
Because if you get the zombie virus on your hands, you can Purell that crap away.
I don't know about that.
That's how the zombie virus
They
works.
should try that on The Walking Dead. They just dump Purell into a zombie bite.
I'll email Rick.
Can you imagine how bad that would hurt?
Probably less than the zombie bite itself.
I don't know. One time I had a blister and I got Purell inside the blister and it was a bad day.
All right.
So, how far are we into this thing? It's only been 5 minutes.
It's felt like an eternity. All right. We are going to get this show started like we get every show started with
Worthless rambling.
the releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
Oh, and also, Dizzy is yet to recover from his death by way of side dish truck accident. All right. Here we go. Releasing on both consoles this week, we have Reba McEntire PGA Tour. And by that I mean it's Rory McIlroy PGA Tour. I had an opportunity to play this this week on early access with EA Access, and I won't go on and on about it because not many people care about golf games. But if you're interested, go on over to youtube.com/player3podcast. Check out those videos, and you can kind of get an impression of it. It is not as good as I was hoping for. But maybe during the post show, the after party lounge, I'll talk a little bit more about it. So, as far as I know, that is everything that is releasing on both consoles. And then releasing, well, let me check. Let me double check, guys, because I did a poor job of doing this. Is there anything that's releasing on Xbox this week? Yes, there is. No, there's not. Yes. Tachyon Project is releasing on Xbox One. I have no idea what that is.
You haven't seen Watchmen, have you?
No.
Talk about Tachyons. I won't get into it here.
Wait, have I seen Watchmen? Is
Big-
that where
big-
they throw the
big-
grease on the face?
Yeah, big naked blue guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
it's-
been
I
a
don't know
while.
exactly what they are. It's some kind of science stuff. Chemicals. But Dr. Manhattan goes on like a long rant talking about tachyons and this, that, and the other.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Zephyr. Yes, Gary is here this week. He's over there making coffee right now. And
Zephyr!
Shut up, Gary.
Shut up, Gary. No one cares. All
Bring
right.
me my coffee. Let's get an intern.
Ooh.
We're-
We're all kind of interns because we don't get paid to do this.
Yeah,
So we just need to get another intern.
right. Who brings the coffee?
What would your perfect
I
intern?
think you're getting dangerously close to slavery.
Yeah.
Ask your question. I want to answer it.
What is your perfect intern like?
First, you get to stitch their mouth shut,
Yes.
and then they just
This is
bring
gonna be
me
like
endless streams of
50
coffee.
grades of shade.
50 grades of
50
shade?
grades of shade.
50 grades of
50
shade.
shades of gray.
Steve Brule, for your help. New movie, 50 Grades of Shade.
Seriously. All right. Releasing on PlayStation this week, we have Arcade Archives, Budosan. Budosan is an action game that was released by Jaleco in 1987. Players try to survive while throwing bombs at each other. Can you survive the gauntlet of 100 fellow pigs to become the champion pig? In this title, 2 players can play together to help or hinder each other.
Have you ever played Bomber Mine? It's a giant MMO Bomberman game that's constantly going.
No.
Google that crap. It's so not right now.
Oh, okay. I'm
Later
sorry.
when you're ready to play.
Okay. I can play right now. and
It's
you
for
guys
free.
Can do the rest of the show.
That's cool.
It's for free.
It's for free. You don't have to pay anything.
So does it sound like that game?
That game sounds like Bomberman to me. A
Oh.
precursor to Bomberman. You're trying to blow each other up with bombs.
Yep. Just like the real world.
Also sounds like the Cold War.
Yes.
Mm.
This has been a great show so far.
Let's pick up the pace.
All right, here we go. Releasing also, we have Deception 4, The Nightmare Princess. Unleash Your Inner Evil, The Nightmare Princess. Velguiri? Is that right? Velguiri?
I'm going to call her V.
Now,
Velveeta. I
now,
believe.
how often have you desired to release your inner evil Nightmare Princess? Seth?
I constantly unleash my nightmare princess.
Use her.
I'm unleashing her right now.
He doesn't have pants on.
You're right.
Uses her kicks and spins in her own quest to revive the devil by trapping humans. Set over 180 traps in a variety of locales, including all new modern stages.
Oh. Capture humans to revive the devil. What a weird game.
It's Big Hat. It's funny. Then we have The Fall. Take on the role of Arid, the artificial intelligence on board a high-tech combat suit. Arid's program activates after crashing on an unknown planet. The human pilot within the combat suit is unconscious, and it's Arid's duty to protect him at all costs. So you are a self-aware combat suit around a guy who is in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
Games are getting weird. All right, then we have God of War 3 Remastered, set in the realm of brutal Greek mythology. God of War 3 Remastered is the critically acclaimed single-player game that allows players to take on the fearless role of former Spartan warrior Kratos as he rises from the darkest depths of Hades to scale the very heights of Mount Olympus. This was one of those remasters that didn't make a ton of sense to me, considering there are 2 other games that they could have just done a trilogy for.
You're right.
And then for some reason, because the reason they've been doing a lot of these remasters is because so many people have jumped ship from 360 onto PS4. And this is like one of the staple franchises for Sony. And so why not give everybody the entire trilogy to be able to experience all on?
Because they want you to buy a Vita.
That's true. They do want you to buy a Vita.
Actually, I don't think they do.
Vita.
I really don't think they do.
We all want you to buy a Vita. Zephyr said he could intern for us, but second thoughts hearing that Larry wants to do to an intern, he thinks that he's good.
I'm willing to step it down to duct tape instead of stitches.
You're so gracious and merciful. You're
What
such a
can I
good
say?
overlord. Or a bad overlord.
You the bad overlord.
Well, you're a nightmare princess, so
Amen, brother. You hear that down there?
that got weird.
Yeah, seriously. All right, then we have Godzilla become the king of monsters, lay waste to cities with brute force and atomic breath, battle against a cast of monstrous, legendary rivals, play as your favorite monster, and take the fight online.
I really want that game.
I heard it sucks.
Yeah, it looks like it sucks.
Most Godzilla licensed games suck, except the fighting game where you fought one another, like fighting games.
This is what this is too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Probably sucks still.
Why can't someone just make a new version of Rampage for me?
Mm-hmm.
I would love that.
You should buy it. Look into it.
Okay.
Then, last, we have The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a first-person story-driven mystery game focused on exploration and discovery. You play the game as Paul Prospero, an occult-minded detective who receives a disturbing letter from a missing boy. I'm very excited about this game. I've read a lot of good things about it. Everybody who talks about it, who's got a chance to experience it, says that it's awesome. And so I will probably pick this up this week.
I want to, but I just get nervous because after I downloaded Ether 1 for free on PSN, it crashed and sucked, and I can never play it again.
Just wait a couple days then.
I don't
Make
wanna.
sure everybody's good. Because I think this is one of those things you can kind of sit down in an afternoon and probably be done with. So let some people play through it first and let you know.
Yeah.
Let me play through it first and I'll let you know.
All right, you gonna buy it tomorrow?
Probably. I'll take that. Depending on how much it is, it's probably less than $20.
You will be my guinea, Luke.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And Zephyr has declined the offer of the duct tape as well. And if you're just going to be...
Come on, Zephyr.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. Because if you're just going to be difficult to work with, Zephyr, we don't want you to be our intern, all right? We need an intern that's willing to do whatever we say, except for what Ben probably is going to tell you to do. Because that's going to be weird. He's going to ask you to do a lot of weird stuff.
Hey, can you come over here and sit on the top of my head for a little while?
All right, so that is everything that is releasing this week. Those are your releases of the week.
Releases of the week. Clap, clap.
I do miss Ben. Ben is the motor that keeps this thing going. He's also the guy who we have no idea what he's talking about the majority of the time.
Yeah. We're like rowing the boat today instead of it being motorboated. That was a poor choice.
Yeah. Your words. Select them with better care. We want Ben to motorboat us. That's what we're. It's essentially what we're getting at. I understand. I'll text him.
I have regrets about my words.
I'll text him. I'll let him know that.
That's all right. You're unleashing your inner nightmare, princess. This is how it feels, Larry.
Baby, I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream.
Hey. What's gonna be forever? Moving on.
Welcome to Taylor Swift 3 podcast.
I wish that was our podcast every week.
T-Swizzle 3 podcast. Which would you prefer?
That one.
The T-Swizzle 3?
T-Swizzle. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the news.
News with the podcast guys.
We just assume you're going to step in.
Okay, because I'm left of Ben.
That's right. All right, we'll kick off the news section with some sad news. Nintendo issued a press release last night saying that their president Satoru Iwata had passed away, and he had been dealing with it was a stomach, like a bile duct growth, and he had surgery, and they thought it was successful, and obviously some things took a turn for the worse, and he died. He was only 55 years old, but anytime you hear of a death in an industry that you love, and especially like for you being a guy who really appreciates Nintendo and Nintendo meaning a lot to you, what were your thoughts when you heard it?
Well, especially with him like heading up what I actually didn't realize that the GameCube was not a well-loved console. For me, it was one of my favorite consoles, and he was kind of over things. That's when he was really getting on top of things, and so it was kind of sad, kind of sudden. It took me unexpectedly. I didn't even know anything was going on with him, so sad to see for sure. And someone said something that, you know, I've done a lot of whining about Nintendo in recent years because they haven't gone the direction I want to. But someone pointed out that although the other two consoles are in this constant race of who has the better graphics and all that, Nintendo only cared about making games that are just fun to sit down and play. No learning curve, just sit down and have fun. And they excelled at that.
Well, and with Iwata being a game developer turned CEO, like, it was always his mantra that games needed to work. And as much crap as we would give Nintendo for the direction that they took things, like, there was no denying that when they released something on their consoles, it was going to work. It was the game that it was supposed to be, and I think that was a credit to Iwata's vision for that company. And the thing I found a little bit sad and disheartening was the very last time that Iwata spoke to the general public in the capacity as president of Nintendo, he was apologizing for how poor their E3 presentation was and how disappointed people were in it. And I guess it kind of just puts a little stuff into perspective. And, you know, we've placed ourselves in a position to be able to react to things that are going on in the industry. And I think being fans of video games, like, that's well within our right. But this places a perspective in where this was a man who loved games, dedicated his life to gaming and to getting other people to love gaming. And just because a couple years things don't go the right way doesn't mean that passion wasn't still deep within him. And so very sad to hear. You have any thoughts, Seth?
Yeah, I haven't really been keeping track of that story too much. It is sad to see him go, but, you know, Nintendo's a strong company. It's been around for a long time, and I think they're going to keep doing what they do best, and that's make games that work and function.
And something I didn't know about him before this happened. Apparently, he was an incredible coder.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of people posting some stories about some times where he would, like, marathon days at a time just fixing code that people hadn't been able to get working, and like they couldn't get Pokemon Silver to fit on the cartridge, and so he sat down and made it fit with enough space that they were even able. That's why they added in the Kanto region as well as the Johto region, because they couldn't make it fit, and then he made it so tiny they fit an entire another world into it.
And is that the game that he did in a week? There was a game where he got the source code and did something insane with it in a week's time.
I can't remember what game that was.
But it was a Pokemon game. I just don't know which one it was. And so this is something that, even though we don't cover a ton of Nintendo news on here, affects gaming as a whole. To lose somebody of such significance in their company, but also in that was so significant just to the industry. We just wanted to take a minute and say that our thoughts and our prayers are with, his family and the people that he was close to and that this affects. And so some somber news to start with, but a man who did a lot of great things for this industry. So, all right. It's a little awkward to move on from that, but we're gonna go ahead to the next topic. This was I can't remember where this interview was, but Xbox head and friend of the show,
Of course.
Phil Spencer, said in a recent interview that the gaming industry, and this is appropriate on the heels of what we just talked about, that the games industry would be better if more executives actually played games. And you sent me this article, and you pointed out something that I love, and so I'm gonna read I'll just read the article. This is from games.on.net. It says the head of Microsoft's Xbox division, Phil Spencer, has declared that the industry would be in a healthier state if the executives and decision makers at the various developers and publishers responsible for making video games actually played them. Quote, I think our industry is better when more people who made decisions on games play. End quote, Spencer said in a Twitter exchange. The Xbox executive then went on to identify the president of Sony Computer Entertainment Worldwide Studios, Shuhei Yoshida, as one of those executives. Spencer's comments were sparked by a video last week where Yoshida revealed played Bloodborne on the PlayStation Underground web series. Yoshida added that the action RPG was only the second game he had ever gotten a platinum trophy for, with the first being Hannah Montana the movie, the game, on PlayStation 3.
What a guy. What a guy.
Let's take a minute and just react to this news that Shuhei Yoshida has now platinumed two very similar games. Bloodborne and Hannah Montana, the movie, the game, in sheer brutality of trying to make it through either one of those experiences. Seth, you have experience with Hannah Montana, the movie, the game.
I lived it.
as you let your inner nightmare princess go.
How do you think Hannah ended up in the spot that she's in now? Nightmare princess.
Very good point. It all comes full circle.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What?
Don't pay attention to what I'm doing.
I'm really curious as to what you're doing. What are you doing?
It's a familiar name. I was just trying to see if there was a bio.
Oh, I can check for you. There isn't. All right, Alex Walker. It's probably the one you're thinking of.
I doubt it. Seems like a common name.
Nah, Walker's a pretty rare last name.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like John Smith.
So, yeah, Shuhei Yoshida platinumed Hannah Montana, the movie, the game, and decided that was good to tell people. Very interesting. But let's get to Phil Spencer's quote, friend of the show, Phil Spencer, and talk about executives playing games. What do you think of that statement?
Yeah, I think when the guy in charge actually loves the product, it would make a huge difference.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, that's ideally what you want is, the people that are making your product to be involved in your product and to love what they're, if you don't love what you're producing, what are you doing?
Yeah. And Spencer's definitely a guy who plays games. You can tell his gamer score is incredibly high. He's always playing Forza or Halo or something like that online, and not only is he a guy who loves games, he loves Microsoft games, and he loves Xbox games, and you can tell that it's not just like he stumbled into this position as head of Xbox and so he's forcing himself now. It's like he's a gamer turned executive, and I think that it's always been kind of a problem with the way that Sony's executives come across, especially during like their E3 presentations. They just seem like suits that talk about games because it makes their company a lot of money. Whereas when Microsoft talks, at least for the past couple of years with Spencer on top, it's like these are people who understand games, and so I think definitely the industry would benefit more from having people higher up in these organizations playing games and falling in love with games and dedicating the time and the resources and the money to these things to make them good. And which kind of leads us into the next story, with the idea of like not being able to really connect with gamers and know what they want. People who are frustrated with the PlayStation Network have created a website, www.betterpsn.com, where they are hoping to spur Sony along to improve its online services. And this has been covered from gaming websites like Kotaku and IGN, and even just business stuff like Forbes had an article about it. Seth, you're on PlayStation and Xbox, so you get to experience both. Like, how would you describe the difference between
playing speeds or
just between the overall
experience?
General.
I mean, in general, I tend to lean towards PlayStation for my online gaming. Now, most of the games that I want to play, I play on Xbox for online gaming because of just the interface and things like that. But in terms of functionality, I think the PlayStation does it a lot better most of the time. But just in terms of connection and things like that, because my Xbox, the party system's always wanting to mess up. There were times where Larry couldn't even talk to us because It just wouldn't let him into party chat. But I mean, they both suffer. That's for sure. I mean, neither one of these systems is perfect. Neither one of these networks are perfect. Somehow they leave a lot to be desired, and I know it's because they're multitasking more than they ever have been able to before. We're able to do so much more with them, but at the same time, I think the little things suffered that should have been like the solid foundation of the systems.
Yeah, PlayStation seems to work more for me, whereas Xbox seems to be the more like feature-rich experience.
Exactly.
And PlayStation, I think this is spurred on mostly by the fact that you're paying $50 a year for this service. And do you feel like with PSN, because you played on PlayStation 3, you were a PS3 owner, do you feel like there's a difference between what you experience now for $50 a month as opposed to what you were getting for free?
Yeah, I absolutely do. It feels a lot more streamlined, not nearly as streamlined and polished as Microsoft's, but it works better than Microsoft's.
Right.
So it's all about that balance. I'll still continue to play shooters like Halo and Battlefront when it arrives on my Xbox because it works well enough. There were times when like I'm playing Call of Duty on a Clan War weekend when for some reason every time that a Clan War comes around, none of us can get into clan chat or we can't stay into a party for so long because I guess the servers can't handle something.
Right.
But you would think it'd be exactly the opposite because I've been doing this for years now.
Yeah, for me, I think it's like there are just some basic common things that are lacking on the PlayStation side of things.
Oh, absolutely.
That make me question why it is that I pay $50 a year for a service like this. Things as simple as like knowing when a friend comes online.
Yeah.
Like it
Or
coming
even,
up
like,
and saying Buttzors is now online.
Just the sending of invitations to games or parties, things like that. Like
being like a 12-step process.
Exactly. But it works. So I mean, how much can you really complain until it doesn't work?
I think the point is like if I'm going to be spending premium money on it, I need to feel like I'm getting a premium experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like Xbox, when it is working properly, and Larry, you can chime in if you agree, like it feels like a premium experience when everything's working as it should be working. And I can pop in and out of my Snap menu into friends, or pop in and out to the party and certain things like that. Even down to the app that runs that is a companion app for these things. Like the PlayStation one is terrible. Mm-hmm. All of the links take you to external sites, whereas in the Xbox Live, the Smart Glass app, like it's all right there, and it all functions within there. I can search and I can download. The only thing you can't do from your phone, which makes absolutely no sense on Microsoft, is redeem a code. Makes no sense to me. Mm-hmm. But
you can do that on PlayStation, can't you?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
But you do it from the site, not the app. It takes you to the site to do it. And so I just want to feel like I'm getting a premium experience, and I don't feel like that on PlayStation. What are your thoughts on the Xbox Live experience?
When it works, it's great, but they do frequently have issues, and I don't understand why they're so frequent.
Because they added like millions of servers, didn't they, or thousands of servers, whatever it was.
The party app's really the only thing that's consistently a problem, though. Other than that, like the only connection issues I've had have been in Halo Master Chief Collection. It had nothing to do with Xbox's side of things.
Have you noticed the difference with Microsoft since they added dedicated chat servers to parties a couple months ago? Because I've noticed a difference. I feel like I haven't been having as many issues.
It has been better, but it's still not
right
as good as I would like it to be.
Yeah. So on this site, they've listed a couple of the biggest changes they're looking for is that you can change your username, which why you can't do that is beyond me. Dedicated servers instead of using peer-to-peer stuff. NAT type stability, and that's a big one. Like my PlayStation NAT type changes all the time, and I don't understand a lot of that sort of stuff, but when I have an open NAT type and can chat for weeks and weeks on end and nothing changes on my end except for it turns into a strict NAT type and I'm getting kicked all the time, That's a big one. So then things like cloud storage, option to share video clips, family account features set for saves. Just all the site has all kinds of stuff, and I think it's really cool. And I think one of the things that Microsoft does so well is they have their I think it's called Shout or something like that, where Xbox Live Shout, where you put a feature or a change that you'd like to see made, and you can submit it, and it's upvoted, and there are actual Microsoft people looking at that who are responsible for the updates that get pushed through. And Sony doesn't really have anything like that. And so if BetterPSN.com can become that forum, that voice that PlayStation owners often feel like they don't have, I think it could be a really big deal. All right. Let's see. Next item on the list. We have, here you go, Larry. You'll have fun with this. The perpetrator of the Christmas DDoS attacks has been charged. They didn't release his name. He's a minor. Was charged with over 50,000 cyber crimes. 50,000. And got a 2-year suspended sentence.
Is this the same one they called a while back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Got a 2-year suspended sentence. And this made the news the world over. 50,000 crimes. Larry, you grunted in disdain. What are your thoughts?
Now, he was tried in Finland, correct? Is that the country?
I think so.
So Finland's real big on rehabilitation over punishment. And I haven't actually looked at the statistics to get into the whole debate of who's right and which one is better. But it gets under my skin as an American who likes to see justice served. And, these guys tweeted that even if they got caught, nothing was going to be done to them. And they were right. And it just makes me really, really angry. Now, there are other crimes that he's still going to be tried for, I think, if I understand right. The former Sony executive, this guy also called in a bomb threat to an airplane.
Yes.
Hopefully that gets him more serious charges than this has. But basically, we've just sent a message to all these hacker kids. Keep doing what you want to do. Destroy what you want to destroy. Wreck people's lives all you want. And it's fine. We'll slap you on the wrist and let you go.
Yeah. We're still, like, the internet's been around for a while, but we're still kind of in this weird phase of understanding the nature of these kinds of crimes and what a fitting punishment is going to be. And people got joked for saying this on forums like Reddit, but this dude essentially ruined Christmas for millions of people.
He ruined it for me.
And me.
And I wasn't around my consoles enough during the Christmas holidays to be able to play, but if I'd have been home, I'd have been angry. And, like, there are kids who have and adults who have looked forward to Christmas Day knowing, like, I'm going to get my PlayStation or my Xbox, and they open it up and you can't use it. And this isn't like the old days where you just have the option to just play offline. Like, if you don't have an online connection when you're setting these things up, you have very few choices as to what you're going to be able to play.
And what was the big holiday game this past year? Destiny, right?
Well, Destiny and Halo and Call of Duty, all your normals. So,
But I mean, I think Destiny was probably the biggest.
Yeah.
And you're not playing that game offline at all.
Yeah.
And on top, like, and besides his shutting down of Xbox Live and all that jazz, some of his hacking is also like stealing identity type stuff. Like, he's literally ruined people's lives, their credit scores, their, like, he's a big thief. If I just waltzed into people's lives and started stealing their money, I wouldn't get a 2-year suspended sentence. I don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and until, well, in Finland, like you said, is more interested in rehabilitation, and they kind of have tried to motivate him to use his talents. But the problem is like with DDoS attacks, it doesn't take a ton of talent to do that sort of stuff. And I don't claim to know what I'm talking about when it comes to hacking, but anyone who calls this guy a hacker in the hacking community is ostracized because apparently doing a DDoS attack is not hard at all. But they want him to use his expertise, quote unquote, for good, to teach people about online safety and those sorts of things. And but until we begin to get a firmer grasp on like how to punish these crimes and and the magnitude of these crimes, we're going to continue to see stuff like this. But you're right; it totally sends a message of like, hey, go ahead. You'll get your name in the paper, and you'll get maybe not your name, but Lizard Squad, this group you belong to, is going to be known the world over. And if you get caught, slap on the wrist, and we'll just let you move on.
And it may just be coincidental, but I haven't really heard much out of them since he got arrested, which kind of makes me think that maybe there was some fear put into them. And if there was, I guarantee there's not now.
Yeah. So, oh man, Lizard Squad.
Stupid.
All right, next item on the list. There has been a lot of No Man's Sky information that's come out. It's the IGN's first for the month of July. No Man's Sky is the procedurally generated exploration game where you can explore countless planets on countless galaxies and gather resources and discover new species and all sorts of things. Did you get a chance to watch?
I didn't watch. I know that the guys at IGN are really excited about it. Like Marty is it Sleva?
Yeah, Marty Sleva.
Sleva. I always want to say Silva. But he's been talking about it a lot and just kind of really building up hype for it on Beyond. And that's going to be probably something I go home and watch tonight.
Yeah. I got a chance to watch it, and I was left astonished by it on the one hand, and then with questions about it on the other hand. And one was a big one that they kind of glossed over, but I'll get to that in a second. So essentially, you are trying to gather materials to upgrade your ship in order to make it to the center of the universe. And the more upgraded your ship is, the farther your ship can warp drive, like your warp drive can have you go. And a couple things that are really, really cool about this game. Number one, they have created their whole entire its own unique, the universe's own unique periodic table for No Man's Sky. So there's all these elements that you can gather, and a lot like Minecraft, you can put these elements together to form other things. And there's not going to be any kind of guide on what to do when you get this game. It's all about trial and error, putting stuff together to figure out what happens. And then, there's not going to be a wiki that launches alongside this thing that's going to teach you. People are just going to have to learn from experience and through the community of talking with one another as explorers. And that's really, really cool to me. I've spent so much time asking, what is the game? What am I supposed to do in this game? And I'm becoming more and more content with, you just explore. You just find a planet and you point at it and you land on it and you look around and you try to find new things and you explore. Now, there are other elements to it. There's like a wanted level, a wanted system where if I go in and I just start killing animals on a planet or start destroying huge chunks of the planet that I land on, then these robot police officers, intergalactic police officers, will come and they will fight me. And the more bad stuff that I do, and the more robots I take out, and the more wildlife I disturb, the higher my wanted level gets. And much like GTA, I've got to escape from it, and that's really cool to me because with Star Trek and the idea of you explore and you respect the kind of the art of exploration. Mm-hmm. And that's what No Man's Sky is. It's not about going in and just destroying everything that you see, because that's not within the spirit of exploration.
Yeah. Now those things are still there.
Yeah.
But, ideally what you're going to do is, it's going to be peacefully just going in, collecting your supplies. Maybe there are certain circumstances where you have to make a hard choice. Maybe you have to blow up I don't know if this is going to work out or not, but maybe you have to blow up a mountain to get some ore.
Ooh.
Then you have to make the decision, is my mission really that important?
So, now I don't know where you're getting this notion that destroying everything isn't in the spirit of exploration, because there's a guy called
Destiny,
Christopher Columbus.
The Pope apologized for all that, by the way. Sorry for what the Catholics did to you Native Americans.
It's a little late, but it's good.
Better late than never.
Yep.
That's what they said about the smallpox cure, too.
Ew.
Ew.
Bam, bam.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were talking about exploration.
That's it. That's all. I just wanted to make that joke. That's
it. See, it's difficult to know how much of those kind of moral decisions they can set in front of you with it being procedurally generated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they didn't craft a mountain and say, all right, this is where the ore is going to lie, and you have to destroy this mountain in order to get to it. So, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to consciously be able to set up those kind of moral choices. Will they be present just by, you know, in the sense of things exist and so moral choice exists? Like, I think that would be the case. But I'm becoming more and more content with, like, you just go around and you try to find cool stuff before anybody else does. And you get a special reward for being the first to discover, like, a species of animals or some kind of wildlife or some planet even, and that you get to name it. And I think that's really cool. And so if I find an animal, I name it, and then Larry comes along and finds that animal later on. He sees the name that I've given that animal. And depending on how big the servers are, and how many people exist in the same universe, that gives even more a sense of accomplishment in discovering and finding stuff. I think it's going to be really cool.
I hope it's not random respawns. Population grows at a predictable rate, and like I can make your species of animal go extinct. It just doesn't
So if you
exist.
guys name them yourselves, aren't there going to be like a bunch of dinosaur aliens running around out there called like the butt munchers?
I imagine there's going to be some sort of a like sensor, like a filter that things are going to have to go through, so that because that would definitely take me out of the immersion of it if I go and find a monster and it's named like the Four Buttholes.
But what if?
But if
it's
it
a
has four
descriptor-
buttholes,
okay.
if it has four buttholes, that's okay. But if it's got two buttholes and it's named the Four Buttholes, I'm out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the more and more, the one thing though that they avoided that I was like, I really want to know that, and if it doesn't exist, I'm going to be a little disappointed. Is Ryan McCaffrey in the 18 minutes of gameplay they showed asked if there was some sort of lore that backed the story of what you're doing, like why you're exploring, not just in the sense of your objective, but like what led you to be an explorer, and he just kind of brushed over the question, and so.
Did they revisit any of the faction at war stuff?
No, they did not. Not from the stuff that I've seen so far. I am interested in more of that, and I imagine if there's factions, there has to be some sort of lore about the universe and sides and ideologies and those sorts of things, and those are going to be the things that hook me. I just don't want this to be something that I get really excited about and I play for 4 or 5 hours and it's like, I'm not seeing much that's different. You know, there's a lot of variety in the planets. But I don't know if variety in planets is enough to keep me coming back.
Yeah, I think it's going to be something where you go in for a couple of days and play for like a few hours a day, and then you take a break for a week and play something else, and you can come back. Kind of something you're returning to when you need something to play, and it's just like a project you gradually work towards because it's going to take forever to get from the like the outskirts of the galaxy to the. There's a lot of light years in there.
Yeah. The sheer the sheer magnitude of the universe is just insane to me. Like he just in the 18 minutes of gameplay, he's like every light you see is a planet, and he's just going and going and going and going and going, and there's billions of planets on this thing, and I still have no idea how they did it, and how it all works and what the variety is like, but I am excited to jump in there and see what's going on. Let's see. Apparently, there's been some people leaving some comments, and it's hard for us. Diz isn't here this week, and Diz is normally the guy that keeps up with the chat while we go and while we talk about topics. And so when he's not here, it's really, really difficult for us. So we aren't trying to neglect you guys. We apologize for that. And let's see.
Wish Gary would read the chat.
Yeah, seriously. Gary's just over there sipping on coffee, isn't even bringing us any.
Sorry, guys.
It's not okay, Gary.
You're not sorry.
It's not okay. And when we can get Zephyr over here to agree to sew his mouth shut, we'll let him take Gary's spot.
It's temporary. I mean, when you're done interning, we'll cut it back open.
Yeah, you can earn the right to speak again. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next topic here. The Witcher 3 expansions are going to be about the same size as The Witcher 2. So there's 2 expansions that are going to be releasing for The Witcher 3 in the coming months, and it is going to add almost as much story as is involved in The Witcher 2. Thoughts on that, Seth?
It's exciting. Do we have a price point? I know there is one, but do you happen to know what it is for those expansions? For the season pass?
I thought it was $40 for both of them, but I'm not sure.
If they're that size, though, like...
Yeah, that's well worth it. And like I said, I haven't quite finished the main story of The Witcher yet because I've kind of been doing this thing where I, like we were just talking about, going and like taking a break and then going back. And it's a story that you can always jump back into, and it's a lot of fun. It's really in depth. So I've gotten my money's worth and then some out of this game, and I've had it 2 months, and plan to have it for a lot longer. So those expansions, however much they are going to be well worth it.
Yeah, I'm already overwhelmed by the size of this game,
Yeah,
and to add more to it, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna chip away.
You've got to progress a little further.
Yeah. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited about a company that cares enough about their product to put that much love into it. And I don't even care if I like the game or not. Like,
that's the reason that the few problems that The Witcher has had, and that one big one where with the suspension, which have they fixed yet?
I'm not positive yet.
I'm always scared.
I will quit out of that, and even if they say they fixed it.
I'm always scared, to even go back to the home screen to close the game out. But I haven't had any problems with it so far. But I think that's why no one really freaked out that much because of that. I mean, I'm sure the people that it happened to are upset. I've seen that, but it hasn't stopped other people from buying this game and from supporting CD Projekt Red because it's such a great game and there's so much love and time put into it. It's so detailed that the bugs that come with every game when that first comes out, they can slide. $25.
The 2 expansions for The Witcher 3 are $25.
That's sold, baby. You just sold me some
DLC. Or together.
It looks like it. This is for the expansion pass, is what it looks like. Earlier this week, CD Projekt Red announced 2 major expansions for upcoming open world. Yada 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 yada. Official descriptions posted on Steam, GOG.com.
Will cost $25.
So that's for both of them, right?
That's a deal, brother.
So you're essentially getting a whole another game for $25 if these end up being. And the thing is like when they started talking about how long the game was, they were like, well, no, it was an article last week about the expansions.
Is that where it was? They were shooting for a 100-hour game. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, where they were like, it's 100, but it's probably going to be around 100 hours, but we don't know. It's probably going to be more. And they said something about like The Witcher 3 being 200 hours, but yet most people are getting 300, 350 hours out of it and stuff like that.
I've got like about 60, I think, on there, and I've played most of the story and some of the Witcher contracts, very few side missions, and that's playing on the easiest difficulty. So if I were worrying about making potions and finding the decoctions and stuff like that, looking for the Witcher armor, Jeez and Crow, I'll be lost in that game for all time.
What is that from?
Sunny.
Huh?
It's always sunny.
Is it?
Yeah, Max says it.
Oh, Jeez and Crow.
Get on my level.
I got a touch of the consumption.
I've been poisoned by my constituents. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited about a company doing well that's done this much customer care, and for that to set the example to other companies to say, we're going to do the same exact thing.
And one of these days, I'm going to get in my car and pop in that CD with the soundtrack from the game in there and just
go
cruise.
around and try to pick up 2 ladies at one time. And
hey, girls, have you heard the Witcher 3 soundtrack?
And you're like, why has all of the crap hit the fan? I'm only trying to sleep with 2 different women.
Yeah, exactly. That's the conversation we had last podcast, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple podcasts ago at least. Yeah, where Seth didn't understand. Seth doesn't understand. What's the word I'm looking for?
Monogamy.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a board game. You want to buy Boardwalk, I think.
Park Place.
Yes.
That's where all the prostitutes go.
Do not collect $200. All right. Moving on to voice actor. Nolan North. This is an old news, but we were gone last week, and I want to talk to you about this.
Yeah, let's talk. That's Joel, right?
Yes. No.
Who is?
No, Joel is played by. Oh gosh, that just slipped my mind.
I don't know. Who's Nolan?
Nolan North is the guy who did Bill, I believe. What is the guy's name that? I could have thought about it any other time.
I don't know.
He's in every single game. Literally every game. Anyway, voice actor Nolan North, and I'll think of that name in a second, has essentially confirmed that The Last of Us 2, a sequel to The Last of Us, is in the works. And so that's not surprising. That's not news. The sky is blue, water's wet,
Mm-hmm.
and
I
there's
was
going
kind
to
of
be a
hoping
sequel.
that I was kind of hoping that we would never see a sequel to it. To be
That's what I
honest.
wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah. All right. Talk to me.
We're getting a sequel. What do you want to see in a sequel? You're a big fan of this game. I'm a big fan of this game.
I don't know. That game was perfect for me in that it just took me completely and totally by surprise. I knew it would be great because it was Naughty Dog. I had just recently played the 3 Uncharted games before that. Troy Baker.
Yeah, Troy Baker is the
Okay.
voice of Joel. I'm an idiot.
I had just recently done all that, and to kind of prepare for Uncharted because I knew that I would like it, but I didn't know just how much and how well written and how well designed that game would be. It played up on the themes of a post-apocalypticism very well. I'm not sure if I just made that word up.
Post-apocalypticism.
Post-apocalypticism. Post-apocalypticism.
Are those the 3 dots you put at the end of an incomplete thought?
Yes.
Thanks.
Got it.
Yeah. And thanks to Jastrom. The Jastrom's back.
Yeah, the Jstrom's back. Or Jastrom. Yeah, Troy Baker.
Oh, cool.
He's in
Jostrom.
literally every video game
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
ever
yeah.
been made.
But I honestly don't know because that game was just it was the closest thing to perfect I think I've ever seen, other than most Metal Gear Solid games. I don't even know. I don't. So this guy plays Bill, the guy that you're talking about, Nolan North.
I'm pretty sure.
See, if I did have to get one, I would want something to be done like we're seeing more and more dramas do on television now. Like
Oh, no, he doesn't play Bill. He plays David.
from the game though, from the first game.
Yeah, he's David, the crazy dude who tries to...
Okay, see, that might be okay. I don't want not a major. Bill wasn't a major protagonist, but if we have to do anything, I want to see something like The Leftovers is doing on HBO, like True Detective is doing, and I could even settle for something like American Horror Story does, where you kind of rotate casts out
Yeah.
and kind of tell a new story in the same universe. Because that Joel and Ellie thing, I don't want it ever to be touched. I'm sure some people do because it was open ended. But there's a lot of beauty in that, I think, from a narrative standpoint. And I don't know. I want something totally new in that same world if I have to see anything at all.
Yeah, as soon as I finished The Last of Us on my first playthrough, my immediate thought when, number one, I was so happy we didn't get to choose what we told Ellie in terms of, and I'm going to put the spoiler hat on here. Spoiler hat's on. So as long as I'm wearing this hat, we're talking about The Last of Us spoilers. And the stream ends, we normally go about an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. We do an after party lounge. You can stick around. That's when we keep up with the chat, talk about that sort of stuff. But anyway, so at the end, you've rescued Ellie from the Fireflies. They're about to kill her because they think that if they do something with her brain, they're going to be able to find the cure.
Spoilers.
With the hat. And so you save her, and she asks you point blank if there was anything that they could have done, and you tell her no. Like you lie to her and say that that she did everything that she could to find
Because
this
you
cure.
basically just sacrificed the entire world
Yeah.
to have this girl.
To have a shot at being a father again,
Yeah,
essentially. And as soon as the credits started to roll, I was like, I don't want to see any more of them. As much as I love these people as characters, I don't want to see any more.
And it's like you get it that
Taking
it's
this
just
off.
so well because Ellie.
Leave that on for a minute.
Yeah, because Ellie, like you can see in her face, like maybe she's not buying it. Maybe she is though, but I mean that relationship could be forever tarnished, or it could continue to go on from there. But we don't know, and that's such a great thing.
Well, and if a sequel was to follow them, one of two things is going to happen. Number one, the fact that Joel lied is going to have to come up, and it's going to be cliche and you're going to be able to see that coming from a mile away, or they don't touch it at all, and it just becomes this awkward thing that's the elephant in the room of like you play this entire game as a guy who's lied to this girl, and it just doesn't come up. and I don't want to see either of those things happen.
Mm-hmm.
On Three Topic Thursday, we were talking about games that we want to see a prequel to, and I would love to see a prequel to The Last of Us, where we get to kind of maybe even play a storyline as a Firefly and get more of their ideology and kind of what happened to them, because they seem to be a viable opponent to the quarantine zones and to the system there. And so seeing how they were established, seeing how they were founded, and seeing how they spread out all along the country to being this group of people would be incredibly awesome to see.
Oh, yeah.
And I completely agree with you that I would love for this franchise, because it's a franchise that's, I wouldn't say is character driven as it is world driven, and it's such an interesting world. Like you said, they did the post apocalyptic thing about as perfect as you can do the post apocalyptic thing, and so let me see vignettes of different times and areas of this world.
Don't give Telltale any ideas.
Oh gosh, no, I don't want The Last of Us, the walking Telltale game. So, I'm with you. I don't want to see them follow Joel and Ellie. I'd like to see them go back in time to the very beginning and kind of follow that storyline.
That would be cool. Anything if this Nolan North guy is in there that played the cannibal dude. Peripheral characters, I mean, they can have their own stories that will have nothing to do with Joel or Ellie. If Joel or Ellie have to be in there at all, I want it to be just on the very outskirts of the periphery, like they're mentioned. Oh, this guy and this girl got away.
Yeah.
Drat.
What about following the story of Tommy,
Who was Tommy?
Joel's brother?
Oh yeah, that too.
I think that would be interesting. You know, he goes and he's the leader of this town that's holed up in a dam. A darn, sorry. I think that would be an interesting story to go through, or to follow the story of is it Sasha? Is that the chick you shoot at the end?
I can't. I mean, it's been a while now since I played it.
So
The second and third times. But.
there are characters even within the. Ooh, what about was it Ish?
Yeah, the guy in the sewers.
Yeah.
That we were talking about from Earth Abides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about his story? Because a lot of people thought that was going to be the expansion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got the Left Behind expansion, and
Right.
it ended up following Ellie while she saved Joel during the time that she saved Joel from falling on that rebar.
Plus a little bit of a prequel story, too. I mean, there are endless possibilities. And really, that's how you know that you've got a great universe, because there are any number of ways that the story can continue or be expanded upon.
And you can you could give me any of those, and I'd be like, I'm all about that, except for Joel and Ellie, which goes to show you how perfect.
And
Joel
that's
Ellie.
and then that again applies to like the things we were talking about before, like True Detective. I don't want another Matthew McConaughey
Yeah.
and Woody Harrelson story, because that was just this 8-episode great arc that was really compact and really twisty and turny. It was a wild ride, and now we're moving on to something different with Vince Vaughn and the rest of those cats.
Like, I think that is the single thing that ruins American television is we're not willing to be done with a character. We want to ride their story as far as we can
And
ride
it goes from everything just from soap operas to Supernatural.
Yeah, Supernatural is the same loop again and again, just which brother is screwed up this season.
It's the reason we're in season 26 of The Simpsons.
Like, I think that was one of the biggest problems I had with Heroes. I'm one of the few people that loved Heroes all the way through.
Yeah, me too.
But Claire's story was the same every season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dad is just an evil guy and I hate him. And then at the end of the season, oh, he's actually a good guy. I just didn't understand him. All right, by season 3, Claire, you should have this figured out. Your dad's not a bad guy, so just get over it.
Oh, hey, the good thing is he's going to be in the Heroes miniseries that
Gosh,
comes
yes,
along.
he is.
HRG, baby.
And Hiro Nakamura.
Is he going to be in there too?
Yes.
Nissan Versa.
Yatta!
Yeah, we get to this point as a culture where it's like we force the market to become oversaturated with the things that we love, and then we critique the market because it's become oversaturated with it. And I'm going to take this off now because we're not talking about The Last of Us, but and I feel like that's I feel like that's something that Naughty Dog is brave enough to stay away from. And like, look, we know a lot of people. Ben finished The Last of Us for the first time when he got it on PS4, and I remember talking to him in Walmart after he finished it, and he said, "When are they releasing the second one of these so I can figure out what happened to Joel and Ellie?"
Who said that?
Ben.
Oh,
And I'm
God,
like,
Ben.
I'm like, what do you mean what happened to him? Like, you saw everything that happened to him. Those are their characters wrapped up. Joel had made this full circle. Ellie had kind of poured her heart out about who she was and where she came from. Like, what more do you need to see from them? Any other storyline that needs to be tied up, it has to be generated in that game. Like, there's come on, Ben. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Finally, Gary gets it. He understands. So, Last of Us 2, Naughty Dog's not gonna let us down. And plus, this game's not coming out till 2018 or 2019. It's gonna be forever. It's gonna be near the end of this generation, like the original Last of Us was at the end of the PlayStation 3. Let's see. Achilles Might wants to know what. Talk about a modern Assassin's Creed. If you're a big Assassin's Creed fan, we like history. So if you could see an Assassin's Creed in any era, what era would you like to see?
Oh, well, speaking to this modern Assassin's Creed, I mean, we got a little bit of that in 2 and 3, which was pretty cool. It was even, like, you even got to go back into the Colosseum in modern day, like the old decrepit, crumbling Colosseum in Rome, and, you know, go to the monkey bars and do things like that, playground style. And it was really cool. Even in 3, they took it further, and you, like, went through arenas and things like that, like over a stage, and up skyscrapers, yada yada yada. That would be cool to do a whole game with, but it's also very difficult because we live in a time of automatic weapons, and that makes things a lot trickier.
Just play Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, there we go. But if I had to see it in any, I mean, we've seen a lot. One thing I really liked about I love Black Flag was one of my favorite entries in the franchise.
Which is the free game this month.
It's free.
Yes, free on Xbox Live. Pick it up if you don't have it already. That was one of my favorite ones. The story was great. I thought it was going to take the franchise, and it was going to start off a new direction after the Desmond arc. It did not, as far as I can tell so far. It really seemed like it was. But one thing that they did really well and really intrigued me is, I think I've talked about it before, is you do this thing in the first person, kind of like you do in the first Assassin's Creed game when you're playing as Desmond in whatever the company's name was, the Templar front, Abstergo. Where you're in first person, you're kind of playing detective. And you do this working for the modern version of Abstergo, who's using Animus technology as entertainment for people. They get to live memories like movies. And you find, like, at one point you get to go and hack computers and things like that. And so you go and hack one certain computer, and this information that I found was basically a list of, and they did this narratively, of course, so it's like an executive at this company telling you about it, but what it really is Ubisoft telling you these games, the end is nowhere in sight, because they listed off all these certain things that they could do, like feudal Japan. We've already seen in the Assassin's Creed Chronicles, you get, like, what is it going to be, Russia, China, and India?
So
like, see in, like, a side-scrolling game, but
feudal Japan with I guess the ninja would be or
like you could, like, a samurai or a ninja samurai.
I assume the samurai would be like the Templars and the ninja would be the assassins.
Yeah, or you could have a cross trainer. The stealth of the ninja, I don't know, but it would be. I mean, it could be wild. That was one of the ones that stuck out to me the most. But I mean, that was before we had Unity, so we've had the French connection. We've got Victorian London coming up. I mean, we can go back to these places at any time. They could expand on Paris and hopefully a better iteration of Unity. But really, I mean, we've been around for billions of years. We could even get, if they really got desperate, we could go back to this precursor race and get a game dealing with that. We were Adam and Eve running around in a crazy world.
All the other humans on her.
Yeah, basically. I'm trying to get the sun to explode.
Yeah, as far as a modern Assassin's Creed goes, I think it's difficult because so much of the lore is locked up in the fact that these modern day people are able to go back and recreate memories.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see them catching up to today and creating a whole game that takes place in modern day times.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool in 2 and 3 when they, it was kind of like the filler moments between your historical story, because really those weren't actiony missions. You might have gotten into a few fights there, but it's one of those things that they mentioned in one of the first games is that the assassins are pretty much wiped out now, and it's because, like, you hear when they come to rescue Desmond from Abstergo, like automatic weapons firing, and the assassins are pretty much wiped out now because you've got a rich company that can afford billions of dollars worth of weaponry. They're going to knock out a little band of campers out in the woods trying to hide like that, and so really, assassin, I don't know. I can't see it working as a full game.
But as far as an era, I would like to see. I think I've said it on the podcast before. I'd love to see a World War I Assassin's Creed. With like trench warfare involved, and you're this assassin who can kind of sneak into other people's trenches and wreak havoc and do. And World War I is just such an intriguing period of time because there's so many players at the table and so many motivations and stories, and there's really it's hard to peg who's to blame. Like World War II would be an obvious choice, and then the main target be Hitler, and like
right.
But it's kind of an easy time of history to approach, whereas World War I you'd be able to really get in and dig into the history of that.
Yeah, I mean, there are very, very, very clear binaries in World War II, and there are in World War I, but not nearly as much to that extent, where you've got Hitler right there.
Well, in every little player in World War I is in it for their own motivations, and maybe that doesn't play too well to the idea of the assassins versus the Templars.
No, it does,
but
it does.
Yeah.
One thing I would really love to see is first of all, the franchise needs a steady protagonist like it had in the Ezio trilogy and just with Desmond in general. So it had like a twofold thing there for a while. I would love to see at least a 2-game arc in the Civil War and then post Civil War in the Wild West. Like a Tombstone thing going on.
Yes, the diamonds.
Oh my god!
So and you have because of course those rivalries they extend until today, and they were just that much more potent. I didn't realize because I'm not much of a Western guy, but I had a buddy at work telling me one day because he was the one that got me to watch Tombstone, and he explained to me kind of the history behind these characters and how certain ones of them were Confederates and certain ones were members of the Union, and that's where a lot of the tension comes from. It's not just about territory and land and women.
I mean, that's basically the plot behind Firefly. Mal is the losing Confederate.
That's Firefly and Star Trek are really great frontier narratives, and just set in outer space. And
the final frontier.
Well, that's the brain. These are the voyages of the starship. But anyway, that would be what I love to see, and I really hope that it happens.
Larry,
I'm just trying to think. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not very mentally sharp today. Your ideas sound great, but I'm trying to think of other time periods in a little more modern than that. I'm trying to think of important events that have happened.
Civil rights movement.
That's a dangerous territory.
We've talked about that on the podcast before.
Yeah.
How it would be a cool place to have a game, but I don't think Assassin's Creed is the game for that.
It's not the one. It's not, I guarantee you, it's not the one.
I don't know. I got nothing.
It's all right, buddy.
Vietnam? No, automatic weapons. I mean,
I
you have
don't think-
automatic weapons in the World Wars, but I mean, they're that much more prevalent.
Yeah, and you kind of in World War I you were straddling the lines of like modern warfare.
Yeah, if it's got to be in warfare, it needs to be something where, for all of its faults, Assassin's Creed 3 worked really well because at that time we were just starting to experiment with guerrilla warfare a little bit because the reason we were losing the war to begin with was because we were fighting the English way, where we just kind of marched toward each other in a blaze of glory.
Which I still feel like is the most effective way.
Of course, but Cornwallis is having everybody in Washington just walking straight toward each other and just shooting man to man. And it really worked well because you start to see a little bit of how that changed and how we ended up winning the wars because of guerrilla tactics. And you're this rogue warrior fighting for a cause out in the woods, hanging people from trees. Vietnam will be difficult because everything was guerrilla pretty much. You had the bad guys were fighting.
But what's more guerrilla than being an assassin?
That's true, but I mean, it would just be so meta having the gorilla be gorillaed.
Yes. Ooh, Planet of the Apes, Assassin's Creed.
Sold.
You got a gorilla and some gorillas.
Mm-hmm.
I want
An
to see
exhibit comes in.
the
How do you feel when you're gorillas?
the basic is basically warfare surrounding the oppressive mining companies in West Virginia. You guys learn about that, or is that just West Virginia
That's
history?
just West Virginia history.
It's the only combat on American soil where bombs were ever dropped out of planes.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, they went real hard in the paint for a while.
Was it to open up more mines?
Well, if you worked for a mining company, you didn't get paid in U.S. Currency. You got paid in scrip, and so the guy who owned the company determined how much you made and you had to buy everything from the company store, which so he owned everything that was yours. You were basically just a slave, and so when unions started up, it got real violent. Like they ran so all the miners who joined the union got kicked out of their houses because the company's owner owned the houses, and so they set up like this tent village, and so then the company owner like drove a train by with a Gatling gun and just mowed down civilians. And it was weird, man.
That's insane.
Weird of all times in West Virginia.
You should look up a movie. It probably sucks, but it'll give you a good picture of it. It's called Matewan. Matewan, I think. The Matewan Massacre was the biggest event that happened.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm glad you survived.
yeah. With the huge influx of Irish immigrants, there's a lot of
That's racist.
clan warfare kind of things in West Virginian history. That's why you get the Hatfields and McCoys situation and all that.
Great movie. On miniseries. Sorry. Speaking of clan warfare, Black Ops 3 multiplayer beta is exclusive for PlayStation 4 for 5 days. It's starting on August 19th and running through August 23rd. And then they haven't announced dates for the Xbox One and PC beta yet. You're excited about this game. Are you excited about this beta?
Yeah.
Are you excited about the game?
I'm not gonna say that I'm overly excited. I will be buying it. I will probably be playing it a lot for a few months. But the gameplay looks really inviting, really interesting, really fast paced. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun for a while, and then just like I traded at Call of Duty today, I'll be done with it after a while.
Wonderful.
It's a phase for me, and it's probably a good thing that that's a yearly franchise now, because I would not be playing that game like I'm playing Destiny a year after the fact.
If they put more effort into it, do you think it might be able to be that game? Or do you think they've deliberately engineered it to...
I think it's like a drug, man. You play it, you're high for a while, and then you come down. But then the next biggest thing is out, and you're like, I gotta get high again. I'm hooked on COD.
See, I'm excited about the beta because it's going to save me the buying the game and being like, yeah, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Now, is this going to be an open beta, or is it?
I'm not. It's probably closed.
I
It's
thought that it
probably
was closed to
pre-order.
pre-orders. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
At least for the PlayStation 4. Maybe they'll open it up again when. I don't know.
Well, then the issue becomes a totally different thing where I'm watching a Twitch stream of it and I'm like, I got to buy 12 copies of this game.
Well, that's what happened with Advanced Warfare, wasn't it?
Yes, it
None of
was.
us really planned to buy it when it came out, and then we were all.
In the little bit of time I spent with it, I had a decent amount of fun with it. But I've gotten so spoiled with like the depth of Destiny in terms of like the loot and the grind and those sorts of things. And you just don't get that in Call of Duty, where it's just the longer you play, the more you get.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny, like you've got these goals to work towards, and you're trying to, get your Iron Banner rank up to a certain amount to get a certain thing.
And the great thing about Destiny, we've talked about it 1,000 times, is that you don't like. I'm just now learning to appreciate Destiny in a lot more aspects, and it helps that it's changed so much since it came out. But I mean, there are things I'm picking up on now that have been present the whole time that I just never got into before, and that I never really figured out. And like for somehow I missed out on the whole arc burns and like solar damage, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really realized how important they were because I wasn't participating as much in those in-game activities, and now I am. And it's got a lot, for all its faults. Again, it's got a lot of levels that really work very well.
Yeah. See, I really enjoy Destiny and Halo and those sorts of games. And I liked going back to Call of Duty because it was more of a grounded experience and it was different. And now I was excited about when the potential was that this could have been World at War II. But with it being Black Ops 3 and seeing the direction that they've taken it, it's narrowing the gap of what used to make Call of Duty different from games like Destiny and Halo being these high-paced shooters. And so I'm looking forward to games like The Division because it seems more grounded. Whereas Call of Duty is like exosuits and double jumps and wall runs and Titanfall.
Yeah.
And Titanfall.
I was all like, I've been surprised by the direction they've gone because that was always the when I would hear people argue about which game was better, Call of Duty is better because it's more realistic, is what I always heard, and now it's.
Well, I mean, there's no solid answer to that. I mean, it just depends on what each individual wants. Like, I'm sure there are people that just absolutely love. I'm kind of on the fence myself. I could go either way. I could go back to modernist realist shooters, or we could keep going into 3030 when we're playing. What is it, Nuketown 20? No, that was 2025. Or whatever.
Yeah, we're bypassing that.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, no one's going to be happy. Like, not everyone can be pleased.
Well, and it's about finding those things that can fill the void of what Call of Duty left,
Right.
And games like Battlefield and
Homefront Revolution,
Rainbow Six Siege, as Achilles might, and I'm excited about that game because of that reason. Like, I want something that's a little bit more realistic and a little bit more strategic and a little less how many different combos can I piece together and like climb this wall and jump this gap and shoot someone.
How much drywall can I destroy?
I'm hoping all of the drywall is destroyed. And then games like The Division. So, but I'm loving the new trend of like, here's a beta so that we can test our servers and so that you guys can feel like you're getting some sort of a demo experience of this thing. Now, tying it to pre-orders, that's a whole different thing. But I can also understand why a company wouldn't want to just give you untethered access to their content without some sort of commitment on your part from them, which is a shame.
How much ahead of the release is the beta?
August 19th is a couple months. So you could, if it's tied to the pre-order, you could pre-order and then cancel your pre-order or move your pre-order to something that interests you a little more.
You read my mind.
Friends. Last item on the list for the news: fans are making a spiritual successor to PT called Allison Road, and this was an article that Kotaku posted a couple weeks ago, and we talked about this on 3 Topic Thursday. But we love talking about horror on the Player 3 podcast. It is one of our favorite things in the universe to talk about. You guys, we were all disappointed at the collapse of PT and of the new Silent Hills project. Looking at Allison Road and seeing the direction that these people are trying to take this game, what were your thoughts?
They are on the right track, but they're not there yet.
That's a hard thing to do. To capture again. Like, PT was a huge surprise and a great surprise. Took everybody by storm, and it was one of the best marketing things I think you can do, is just come out with this totally separate, nothing to do with the gameplay or story in general, pretty much. Maybe with story, but very indirectly. And that would have sold, I don't know how many thousands, if not millions, of games worldwide.
I think they pegged the atmosphere, but in my opinion, there was too much dead time. At some point while watching the gameplay, it stopped being a dreadful build-up and became a, when is something going to happen?
Yeah, if this was made into this is going to be a full game, right?
Yeah, but this little trailer they showed was a lot like PT in the sense of what you saw has nothing to do with the final product.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a proof of concept.
Okay.
For me, the voice acting was terrible
Truth.
And the trailer, not the trailer, the gameplay footage of it would have been 10,000 times more effective had it just been silent. But when you wake up and you're like, I got a headache, I need to find an aspirin. It's like, no, you woke up somewhere where you don't know where you are. You need to get out.
That was a great thing about PT. You woke up and there's a sandwich bag talking to you. You're like, all right. Well, first of all, your character didn't say anything, did he?
No, your
Okay.
character doesn't talk.
So you just, all right, well, let me just walk out this door right here back into hell. And you keep going. You keep on going.
Heck. So
Turning around. I'm sorry.
back in the heck.
Gee, I apologize.
Jeepers crisp. So the voice acting was bad, and then the other thing I didn't really like about it was the fact that you could walk outside and just be outside whenever. Because it's like when scary stuff starts going down, and I can walk outside, I'm leaving.
Yes.
Yeah, girl screams from top of the roof. You'll be all right. All right, whatever happens. I'm gonna go walk down to Taco Bell, grab me a chalupa combo, get back to the house, and wait for this to all blow over. All right, and but nailed the atmosphere, nailed the photorealism aspect of it, and I just like the idea of, hey, we really like this, and we don't like that it's not coming, so we're gonna do something about it.
Yeah.
And do something creative about it. Not sign an online petition that doesn't mean jack crap. We're gonna try to resurrect the spirit of this thing in a game that we're working on.
Amen, brother.
Good old American individual. Pull myself up by the
Proud
bootstraps.
to be an American.
Where at least I know I'm free.
What have I become?
What have I? That's right.
Anything else you guys want to mention about Allison Road?
I don't understand why you wouldn't just carry the knife around.
That was yeah, for real. Not that it would have done much good, probably, considering whatever was coming after you was otherworldly.
Holding a knife just makes you feel better, though.
Until you start running and you trip, and it's like the monster wasn't going to kill me, but that knife sure did.
The monster was trying to tell you not to run with knives. He just didn't speak English.
I loved the
Yet.
I also love just the little nods at PT that it gave, like when you flip over the envelope in the beginning and on the back it says "Dad is such a drag," and then when the radio comes on and you're tuning it, you stop on the broadcast of the news of the murders, and then you keep going. And cool little nods.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that sort of stuff. All right, that's it for the news, guys. Moving on. We got reviews. Reviews for you. All right, I'm not going to talk about this yet. I'm not ready to talk about this yet.
You gonna go to Arkham Knight or backwards compatibility?
Let's talk about backwards compatibility first.
Cool.
I don't really want to speak much about it because it's not really a game. But I'm a part of the preview program. Got a chance to try the backwards compatibility for the original Mass Effect. And I was so excited when they announced this stuff at E3. And I was real excited to get a chance to try it out. And I'm not very technically minded about things, but I don't understand how they did this, because from everything that I understood was that unless a console is originally designed and engineered to be backwards compatible, it cannot be backwards compatible. And so for them to pull off what they pulled off is insane. So all you do is you pop in your disc, you have to wait for it to 100% install, and then you can play it. And as you're playing, you get the Xbox 360 overlays. You're connected to Xbox 360 online. If it's an online game, I can play with other people who have those games. It supports chat for 360. The other people have to either be playing the backwards compatible game or be playing on the 360. But, I mean, it was like I was playing the game on an Xbox 360. There were no hiccups, no anything like that. And so the sheer potential of what they can do to their library through this, and now it's contingent on publishers allowing their games to be made backwards compatible, but there have already been big companies like Bethesda. Ubisoft has come out and said that they're in full support of backwards compatibility, and other companies are going to follow that lead as well. Obviously EA is okay with it, doing Mass Effect, and so just big potential for Xbox, and it's a really big deal. And we talked about it 2 weeks ago, but PlayStation's going to have to punch back somehow with it, and whether that's allowing you to play a game for free on PlayStation Now if you already own the disc by unlocking it, or something. We're not going to get full backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 4. But this is a big deal for Xbox, and good on them to do it. And I'm excited about going back and playing more and more. But let's actually talk about a game. Seth,
Talk to me.
you talk to me about Batman Arkham Knight.
I'm not going to start off that way. I always do.
You always do.
I love Batman Arkham Knight.
When are you going to play a game you hate?
One of these days. I did. It was called Ether 1. It didn't work.
Why didn't you review it?
Because it didn't work.
You should have been like, I hate
I was
this
so mad because, and this is a whole other tangent, but I played it for like 2.5 hours. I was trying to find all the little ribbons around the world, and then all of a sudden it crashed, and I was freaking out, and I Googled it for like another hour trying to figure out the problem. I went and watched another stream, and it happened in a different way at the same time to a different guy, and I was just commenting to him. I was like, same thing happened to me, bro. It's just this game. And so I never went back and touched it. I just deleted it immediately. But anyway, Arkham Knight, great. It has its problems. It's not a perfect game. Of course, there was the PC dilemma where the frame rate drops were just insane. PS4, I have only had a couple of problems with in terms of frame rate drops, just mainly when you're in the Batmobile. I'll start off with the problems first. So you're in the Batmobile, you're cruising around at light speed, using your afterburner to fly through town, and it's really great because most of the environments are destructible to some degree. So if you're coming around a curve and you come a little too close to a building, you clip a wall, the concrete's going to crumble and just fall into the road. And so you're just tearing up the whole city as you're driving around in this tank, which is essentially what this Batmobile is.
The villains can't take the city if there's no city to take.
Exactly. Building tearing down one brick at a time. But at the same time, I've had a few instances of frame rate drops. Somehow it ends up the game slows my PlayStation processor down or whatever. I don't understand how it works, but like my friends list won't adjust. At the top it has that number of friends that are online. It won't adjust when I'm in the game sometimes for some reason. But to its credit, the game runs very smoothly other than those few hiccups when I'm driving the Batmobile at high speeds. And like when a lot of action's going on around me. But there are no loading screens in the game, except very cleverly hidden ones and the occasional cutscene. So basically, when you're in the world, you're in the world, and you're just doing what you're doing. The story is great. I won't go into it too much because there are a lot of spoilers, especially for fans of the first two games, Arkham Asylum and Arkham Knight. There's this great post. Arkham City's been out for 10 years, so spoilers just in case. There's a great post-Joker death arc going on here.
How awesome is Scarecrow?
He's pretty cool in this game. He's voiced by John Noble in this iteration, which is awesome. If you don't know who John Noble is, think of the Mad Scientist dad in Fringe. He's on Sleepy Hollow as the son of Ichabod and whatever her name is. That's John Noble. So he's got this very monotonous voice that just it can be a villain. It can be a good guy. It works very well as a villain though because he's just got this dark depth to his voice. It's awesome. Mark Hamill returns as the voice of the Joker, which he is in this game. To what degree we won't talk about. But you do get Mark Hamill's voice as the Joker. For those of you who don't know, Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. And, of course, the guy that plays Batman, whatever his name is, returns. But this game, it's got a lot of variety to the gameplay. The side missions, some things can be repetitive, but not nearly as much as most Assassin's Creed games and a lot of open-world things. So they do a really good job of, you have maybe 12 to 14 missions to do between the side missions that kind of continue on in terms of story, and everything is linked by story, which is great. But you get to then you have the main story, which is almost like a side mission, and again, there's some repetition, but not nearly enough to make things boring. I tore through the story, I tore through a lot of the side missions. I'm not totally done yet, but this game is really invigorating. It's really immersive. And if you want to have a little fun with it, if you have it on PlayStation, you can get the classic Adam West Batman skin and run around Gotham. As it was so hard to take it seriously because I'm doing a quest line where Azrael wants to take your place as Batman in the event that you die under the Nightfall Protocol. And I did that mission where, the last couple of scenes of that mission, which again I won't talk about very much, but I did them as Adam West. And it's just really weird to be in this dark, gritty version of Gotham, just as little Adam West in a cloth suit. And you're just looking up, and of course Batman doesn't smile ever. So he's just, Azrael, what are you talking about? But you're Adam West. It's funny.
Does it say "pow" when you punch people?
I wish it did.
That'd be great.
I would
Just,
never
like,
take it off if
floating
it
in the
did.
air.
But again, this game is a lot of fun. There's a lot to do. My only gripe is that if you want the whole story, you have to do a lot of work. Again, the main story of the game is kind of like it's almost like another side mission. It's on a wheel that you rotate and decide what your objective is going to be for the time. If you want the main story of the game, you're going to go up to the top with the Scarecrow missions. But this, what exactly is a podcast? That's funny. When was I?
You were talking about the wheel where you get to select.
Yeah. You do that. But if you want the whole story, like if you want the very end of the game, you have to do everything. You have to do all the side missions. You have to find every Riddler trophy, which are like 216 or something like that, and solve the riddles. And it's just way too much work to get, an ending cutscene for the game. It almost works because when you finish basically when you finish the main storyline, you say, all right, I'm going to go take care of the rest of Gotham. And that kind of allows you, from a narrative standpoint, to jump back into the world and kind of continue playing, unless you want to start a new story. At the same time, I kind of want the story to end. And I want to see that last cutscene without doing...
250
without doing something that's going to get a little tedious and tiresome. But again, that's a very small gripe as far as I'm concerned. You can YouTube that video if you really want to see it, which I did. So, great game. It's a lot of fun. Even just driving around Gotham. There's a lot of varied gameplay between using your Batmobile and using your Bat gadgets and just flying around the city. Great game. I give it a 9.
We don't do number
We don't do
scores here. What's your review in a word?
Review in a word.
I
Pow.
can be your hero, baby.
What? Pow.
Pow. I like it.
Bam!
Hey, I know we're getting to the last segment of our podcast.
Yes.
There are two things I meant to just bring up.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know when to bring them up. I'm sorry.
We'll do it right now. Random topic of the week from Larry Hunt of the week. Because we already kind of did a random question.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
random topics.
So, I always rave about a certain game that is near and dear to my heart, but not a lot of people played, Jet Force Gemini on the N64.
Mm.
I've mentioned it many times. That Rare collection that's coming out includes Jet Force Gemini, so everyone needs to buy that and play that game because it's
When is
glorious.
that, August?
I think so.
Mm.
The second thing is, next time I go into West Virginia, I should finally be getting my N64 back from my sister.
Yeah!
And we should stream some Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
No, we have to get a new Elgato, wouldn't we?
Yeah, we need the Elgato.
Or an adapter from to the HD, or the 3 red, white, yellow cords. I think they make those.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. We can check. We'll check on it.
We'll find it. We'll make it happen, Phil
But we
Spencer.
also need to stream Animal Crossing
We
20
do.
years later.
We do.
Or however long it's been. So, yeah, I love Tony Hawk. And Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 is probably the best Tony Hawk.
Truth.
Gosh, so good. All right. Well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to get out of here for the audio portion of the podcast, but we stick around on Twitch to do our live after party lounge where we get to interact more with our Twitch stream. You guys have been awesome in the chat. Sorry we haven't been able to keep up. Diz isn't here. Hopefully he'll be back next week. But right now, let's go around the circle, give our names and our information out. And I'm Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary. I'm Seth. You can find me on PSN at Buttzors. That's Buttzorz. Buttzors. Play a lot of Destiny on PlayStation. I'm going to be playing some Rocket League this week on PlayStation because it's the free game, or one of the several free games this month on PlayStation Network. So Rocket League, let's get a team together. Let's mess stuff up. You can find me on Xbox Live at Dongzors. It's DONGZORZ. Dongzors. Got a mouthful, a whole lower body thing going on. Back and front. Xbox, I'll probably be playing a little bit of The Witcher this week, kind of getting back on that horse. I might jump on a little Mortal Kombat because I played it some this week again, and I had a blast doing a little online work and actually doing some damage, as opposed to Injustice when kind of despaired for the state of the world. But yeah, and if I happen to be on a little Halo this week, maybe we can play some. I've been missing Halo a little bit.
I played a little last night, and I need to play more.
Mm-hmm. But it'd be good to get us all on there.
We
But
need
there's
to
just so
go
much to
through
play
the
in so
SC.
little time, and these guys have lives.
Well, I was sick last week. I don't generally have a life.
And it's a DONGZORZ, Dongzors.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to find me, anyone has an Xbox or Budzors, same thing, ZORZ. You hear some stupid name and you're gonna be like, "Who is this clown? Let's mess him up." Then I mess you up. It's the art. It's the art of deception.
All of a sudden, it just got hyper violent.
on the gaming when you're like multiplayer. Like,
Okay, not like in the middle of a wall. All right.
I am Larry, and I'm on Twitter at LairHuntsZombies. LARHUNTS Zombies. What else do I do usually? Oh, also on Twitch under that name, which I never use, so I should just stop telling you about it. And my Xbox Live is the Ninja SQRL. I don't know if there are spaces or not. You'll have to discover that yourself.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
kind of
just
trial
gave
and
out your
error.
Xbox Live,
I
man.
did.
You never
Mother,
do
mother
that.
It's
of
rare.
God. It's an exciting
It's
time.
only
in
the
kingdom.
second time ever.
I like
Also, if you just want to jump in a party chat on Xbox Live and watch Gilmore Girls together on Netflix, that'd be cool too. I've been watching that a little bit.
I've been watching The 100.
That's
Which is
really
act-
good.
Yes.
We can talk about that a little bit.
I was
Not
watching
now.
it just because I was out of things to watch, but then I was
Yeah.
like, wow,
It's
this was a good
Just
decision.
season 1 or season 2 on there yet?
Just, I don't know. I'm only in
Okay.
season 1, though.
Okay, season 1's really good. Season 2 is also very good. I'm sure season 3 will be pretty good as well. Moving on.
My name is Luke Croft. You can find me on Twitter at TK for Maniac. You can add me on PSN at Lodger Blackman and on Xbox Live at Download a Hoagie. We are the Player 3 Podcast. We stream right here on Mondays at 4 o'clock with the Player 3 Podcast. And then,
4-ish.
yeah, 4-ish. And then every Thursday at 4 o'clock for 3 Topic Thursday with Luke and Diz at twitch.tv/Player3Podcast. You can find us on youtube.com/Player3Podcast. If you want to hear this in audio form, we're on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all those sorts of things. If you have a podcast service that you're into, we are probably on it. So anyway, we are the Player 3 Podcast. Stick around for the after party show if you're here for the live stream, but we are
Player 3 Podcast!
P3P.
Ben does it so much better. All right, after show.
Yes.
Hello and welcome to the Player 3 Podcast After Party Lounge, where Buttbucks
No.
continues to be always and forever. If you didn't hear me, I said Buttbucks. It's a currency.
It's not a currency. Oh, man. Again, sorry we couldn't keep up with the chat during the show. Diz not being here is a big deal. He's so beautiful, and so rest in peace, Diz.
I saw Diz today.
Did you?
Yeah.
So he lives. That's good. All right, so
If you can call it living.
goodish.
he is at a week of camp with a bunch of second and third graders. His life is miserable right now. Miserable.
He's a children's minister. That's why he's at a camp with a bunch of children.
Yeah, yeah.
We should be clear
Yeah.
in this day and age.
Thank you everyone for following. I already X'd out of my a lot of my Gmail stuff here and didn't get a chance to read it off. But if you followed us today, thanks for that. You can check out all of our links and stuff in the description below. If you want to leave us a tip and pick a random question of the week or a topic for 3 Topic Thursday, you can leave a donation there. If you give us $15 or more, you can become a friend of the show. We'll put the links down in our video description as well. But this is the way this works. You guys just chat along. If you want us to talk about something and we know about it, we'll try to talk about it. If we don't know about it, we'll pretend.
Probably still try to talk.
Yeah,
about
we'll talk about it like we know about it. So, but yeah, we definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. And
By Achilles might.
yeah, thank you for tuning in,
Achilles,
buddy.
Thanks for coming in. It's been cool. A lot of new faces today.
Yeah, yeah.
We
a lot of the
don't-
old faces weren't there because we didn't stream last week, probably.
Yeah.
When they were
We
old
don't
enough.
really stream daily Achilles. It's more of a weekly thing. We're trying to do more, but we haven't yet.
Yeah.
Summer is crazy for us.
Well, and once I get moved, I'm gonna have that whole podcast room set up to
And
where
I'll
we can
be
stream
I'll be
easily.
moved into your basement.
Yes,
And,
yes, yes.
What if I just come in like 3 days a week and sleep down there?
Oh, Achilles wants to ask questions, so you can stick around, Achilles. Anyone all watch the Ash versus Evil Dead trailer?
Heck yes.
Oh, I
it
forgot
is
about
glorious.
that. Tell me all about it, Larry.
It starts off with Groovy Bruce just checking himself out in the mirror, and he's like strapping up one of those things that corset. Is that the word, or does it have to have the?
You might as well.
Have to have the babiculars.
You have to call it a corset now. So.
So he's like, "Oh yeah, looking good." Then he checks his butt out. It's good.
It's gonna be on Stars, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's just such an exciting time for television. We've got. It's not a reboot, I guess, but this Evil Dead series coming. You've got a Twin Peaks reboot coming.
The Evil Dead series is not a reboot. It is a continuation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so excited.
You got the Twin Peaks continuation, a limited miniseries coming on Showtime soonish. I'm not sure on the dates on that. And then you got the X-Files coming back in a brief, like 10. It's going to be like a 10-episode thing on Fox, I guess, with Mulder and Scully. I'm only like through. If the Dawson's Creek would just come back.
Did you mention the Heroes miniseries?
I did not. My Heroes going to have a brief miniseries coming back. That could go either way. But yeah, it's an exciting time for old television. And now if they just bring Firefly back and a whole lot of other stuff. Hannibal's getting canceled. I want that to come to Netflix immediately. And
Netflix already turned it down.
They did?
Yeah.
I haven't been keeping track of the story because I don't want to get depressed.
And Amazon.
It's because it's hyper violent.
Look, Yahoo Spotlight is your last hope. It saved Community.
so.
It did save Community, and I didn't
what
watch
about like
any of it. I
HBO
feel
or
like
something
an
like
awful
that?
fan.
Possibly.
Because True Detective can be pretty violent.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's going to be the violence that holds back HBO. I think it's going to be a matter of whether or not they can... I think for that it's going to be weird because that's such a huge jump because Hannibal was on NBC, right? Mm-hmm. So like making the jump from NBC to premium.
But from network, I mean, for a network show, that was just gruesome.
Right.
Some of the things.
Yeah, is that why it didn't get?
Probably that, and I think it was something to do with for season 4 they were trying to get the character for Clarice from Silence of the Lambs to come in, and there was something with rights involved in there. So probably some creative differences between the creators and the network.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't understand big business.
Also, we have The Walking Dead.
Ooh, the spin-off, Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah,
Did you see the trailers for those?
I didn't see Fear the Walking Dead.
That's really good.
Season 6 trailer.
Season 6, that was good also, but it's doing that classic thing where you don't really get what's going on.
Those are my
it's just
favorite
like a series.
trailers.
It's just like a series of sentences. You would love. I don't know if you would actually love Mad Men. You probably would if you really got into it. But one thing that I absolutely loved about it is after every episode, when it was on the air, they would show the preview for next week, and it was just that. It was just a series of sentences back to back, and with no context whatsoever. So you'd have like Roger Sterling going, "You don't say," and then you'd have someone else going, "It's not a big deal." And then you'd have just basically those for about 20 seconds, and then tune in next week.
But I loved in the trailer. Rick was like, "You think you're going to take this place from me? Do you know who you're talking to?"
Mm-hmm. And again, the best part is when those sentences that really have no contextual meaning to you, except for the implication, of course. We all know
It's
about
the
the
implication.
implication.
It's the
We all know
implication.
about the implication.
You got to go out
But
on a boat.
when you know exactly what he's talking about, because Rick is a bad dude. And he's going down a really dangerous path right now. But hopefully Morgan's going to end up getting into a relationship with him and saving him. Supposedly there are 2 huge deaths in the comic. I saw an article on MTV, and I had to click out of it really quickly. People were sharing on Facebook, and I came really close to doing that because I'm behind. I'm very behind on the comics now.
How behind are you?
I mean, I haven't seen the Whisperers yet, or whatever they're called.
Oh, okay. See, I have like I think I'm only like 3 or 4 issues
Have
behind.
you still been reading?
Yeah.
Oh hell! So, was there a big?
I don't know. Not that I've seen, unless it's happened in the last 4 or 5
Again, maybe
issues.
maybe I was misreading, but I was a dangerous place to be on the internet. I had to get out of there fast before
Are
I
you
got too
buying
much.
them or what?
He's getting them
Yeah.
digitally.
Yeah, I get them digital.
Can I borrow your phone?
I don't get them on my phone. They're on my laptop. I can send you. I can hook you up. I can hook you up.
Limitless Killer. Sorry, we're having conversations and I'm just not even looking at the chat.
Oh no,
Right
it's okay. I've got a couple questions already lined up. He asked how many of us there are. There's the 3 of us. Ben is on vacation. Diz is working a week at camp, so that's 5, and then Gary is 6. And
Better not forgive me.
we're not going to forget you, Gary. All right. You don't let us forget you. We
Gary
wanna
is a
forget you.
fictitious character created somehow.
We're making fun of another podcast.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Every
That's
week.
right. That's right. That's right.
I'm almost to the point with The Walking Dead. Going back to this just for a second, where I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch trailers. I just want to
The
experience.
Fear the
it.
Walking Dead trailer looks awesome.
I want to watch that.
because first of all, it looks gorgeous. This HD presentation. I mean, it looks brilliant. You can tell that they have a lot more money going into this spin-off series than they did creating the first 6-episode arc on AMC 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, 6 years ago.
Yeah. So, and it looks like it's going to be playing a lot with the classic zombie movie tropes, which the show already does. But the great thing about the show was it just kind of threw you in medias res. Is that the Latin in
Yes.
medias res? Okay, in
Yes.
the middle of things. I was an English major.
Star Wars Episode 4.
Heck yes. So, yeah, the show, the original series, threw you in just in the middle of things, and you just kind of had to figure out what was going on, and some things we've still not figured out what are happening.
Like, why did Rick's legs work at all after being bedridden that long?
Exactly. But I'm sure Shane probably got him and walked him around and like tried to cut his skin off and wear it as a Rick suit so he could get Rick's wife to be with him.
Yeah.
Kind of Buffalo Bill him.
But 1st
I'm really
while
gl-
he was thinking about how he was going to do it, he kneeled and took his hat off. And
I'm really glad
Yeah.
both of them are still alive.
yeah.
Yeah, for shizzle. But the show, this new series, to get back to that point, it looks like any other zombie movie because you kind of the trailer shows you this kind of slow realization of what's going on, a lot of the fear that's happening. Like people are watching videos that are going viral online of guys being shot. Like you remember the bath salt zombie dude
Yeah.
a couple years ago? It's kind of like that. Like you see footage of like someone getting up off a gurney after like a car accident and like eating a police officer's neck or something. They're like, oh god, it's like an aerial shot, and you're like, is this really happening? You see like people on people's cell phone footage getting gunned down like in the chest, like just blasted, and then just getting back up and keep coming along. But again, I think this series, it's not going to tell you what's happening. Again, like how the zombie virus got started. And Mirror's Edge too. You're gonna love that, Larry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. But anyway, I'm just really excited about where this show can go. It looks like it's gonna be this really exciting adventure. It's gonna be really actiony. But it's gonna have a lot of depth to it too, just like The Walking Dead does. There's gonna be a lot of decisions that have to be made, and I'm very aroused.
My understanding of your Mirror's Edge 2 question, Achilles, do we need to read that?
He says, I asked, up he said, what more would you guys want from Mirror's Edge than just fist fights?
So, but then he reiterated it as more guns or just fighting. And I think they've addressed that.
They're not doing guns.
Right.
Yeah.
So their solution to the poor gunplay from the first game is to not have guns at all, which I fully support. I never used a gun in the first game, with the exception of the one shot you had to fire from a gun. Spoiler alert, sorry. You have to shoot one shot. But I never shot anybody, so I like the just fighting aspect myself. And I'm the only one who's played it. So.
Yeah, here's the thing I want from Mirror's Edge, too. For all of the people who pretended to like the first one to buy the second one.
Yes.
Please. Seriously. We talked about this off the air, I think, about how, like, everyone seems to be in love with this series. Yet I never heard anybody talk about the series before. And I'm not calling you. I know you're a huge fan of Mirror's Edge, and you were a huge fan of it when it originally came out.
He's
but
calling you out, bro.
But if people,
I carry my Xbox in the Mirror's Edge pre-order bag, so suck it.
but if people actually like this game, and people supported it as much as they are pretending they supported it then, they would have never canceled the sequel.
True story.
And so that's what I want to see out of Mirror's Edge 2, is put your money where your mouth is, and if you really like this series as much as you say you do, go out and buy it.
You
Yep.
right?
Limitless Killa, is that? He wasn't asking how many of us there are. He was asking how many of us actually think about a zombie apocalypse happening.
Oh.
And I think about it daily. I'm a youth minister, and 2 of my last 2 lessons have included a zombie reference, and 2 of my last 2 youth events have included a zombie game.
Okay. Okay.
I don't actually think about it happening because I am a rational human being. But I do enjoy hypotheticals about it.
Well, I think about it in the way the world was it. Was it Red Cross a couple years back? They ran that campaign because basically, if you're
I think
prepared
so.
for the zombie apocalypse, you're prepared for any natural disaster.
It's a
And
metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I'm getting in physical shape
I'm-
so I can outrun all the zombies.
Alright. I'm one of those guys that. A little anecdote. I took out a post-apocalyptic fiction class in not high school, in college. We talked about it last podcast, I think, with when we talked about Earth Abides and that stuff. It was great, a lot of fun. But there, of course, they're the Thaddists that get in there just because The Walking Dead was just becoming popular then. Maybe in its second season, I think.
Yeah.
And so everyone wants to talk about their zombie contingency plan because they're reading Max Brooks, World War Z, and what was the zombie survival guide. And so they're like, this cat came in like this long-haired dude, wore sweatpants and sandals every day, no matter the season. He's probably a pretty cool dude, but I just never took the time to get to know him. Classic mistake, I guess. But he had a binder. This is probably why I didn't get the chance to know him. He had a binder full of zombie contingency plans, written in paper, listing all the samurai swords and things that he owned, and a couple of pistols. Had blueprints and mock-ups of blueprints, and floor plans and things like that. This just way too extensive. In that same class, I have.
I just want to speak to that. I feel like if you need to list all the weapons you own and carry it around at all times, your early onset Alzheimer's is probably going to get you killed before anything else.
Bam. There you go.
I also think having a systematic inventory of everything that you have on your person is just marking you to get killed so that they could take all of your stuff.
You're right. So see, if I figured out where that guy lived, then he would have been in real danger if the zombie apocalypse came. But anyway, there was a really interesting story, and we had. I think I ended up doing an independent study with the teacher my last semester, based just the zombie apocalypse because I like that class so much. And a couple of the texts we got for that were a couple of John Joseph. What's his name?
Jingleheimer Smith.
No, what?
Jingleheimer
Smith. John Joseph Adams, I think. I have to look up that name.
J.J. Abrams.
Yes, exactly. But basically, he does a lot of anthologies, edits a lot of anthologies. And two of these were zombie anthologies called The Living Dead, and they've got stories about Stephen King, George R. R. Martin, a lot of big names. And one of these stories was about. It starts off like this really actiony story, and it's like Steve McQueen. You're driving up ramps and doing all these things, running from the zombies, and basically this guy's just kicking butt left and right. And then at the end of the short story, you realize that this guy has basically just been locked in a bathroom the whole time, and he's just having fantasies in his head because really there's no way to plan for something like that to happen. Depending on your circumstances, it can just sneak up on you in the middle of the night, and bam, you're trapped in a bathroom, and there's absolutely no way to fight the horde. So really, you're at your weakest point at all times. They go exactly always. That's how Elvis died.
You believe in aliens?
I want to.
The truth is out there. Never mind. I'm not going to
I'm
make
pretty
that
sure
joke.
it's John Joseph Adams.
Do you believe in aliens?
Wait. I was going to say one more thing
Okay.
on the
Did
zombies.
Someone asked that?
Yeah.
One last zombie thing. What was it? I don't know. Aliens. I believed in aliens hardcore when I was a child. Now I'm just maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter to me.
I just think statistically, it's almost impossible for there not to be other life forms. How intelligent they are is beyond me. And we may always be alone even if we encounter those things because figuring out a way to communicate with other life forms and,
It's really interesting because if you believe in the good of existence, maybe we'll run into the Vulcans where they kind of aid our society and teach us how to, ready us ideologically and scientifically for the next step into the galaxy, but and therefore the universe. But then again, you could just get a warring civilization to come down upon us and rain hell.
And we're not ready yet. And
Of course we're not
we're
ready.
just their cattle.
So of course we have to destroy our own planet and thus ourselves, just in order to rid them.
That's my thing about other life is I don't think we are past our own narcissism. To be
No, we
able
can't.
To be
We can't get along with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. Like that's again one thing. I was never raised on Star Trek, but like in my adulthood, I got into it real hard, lock, stock, and barrel. And that's one thing is like Earth was kind of on the cusp of getting where it needed to be ideologically before the Vulcans came in. And one thing about like Star Trek Enterprise is kind of like the prequel series is that you get to see that we definitely weren't ready for all that, but we had some assistance, we had some aid, and basically, I don't know. There's a lot of room for speculation.
Yeah. Okay.
But if we can get on, well, we just gotta end. We gotta get some peace in the Middle East, and in the West, and in the Far East.
Yeah, like why would
and
any?
The planet's getting less peaceful.
Yeah, why would any alien life form of any intelligence want to land on here, knowing that the very first thing we're going to do is probably lock them in some sort of quarantine zone or just bomb the crap out of them?
Yeah. Try to bomb the crap out of them.
Especially if all they watch is Fox News. I wouldn't land on this planet if my only exposure to them is Fox News.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anyone getting hungry?
Generally.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. And I also have a man coming to buy a tiny washer and dryer. So we're going to get out of here. As far as a call-in implementation, I'm not positive if we could do that or if we would do that. But we do enjoy chatting along with you guys. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for sticking around.
We would need
You
an
wanna go?
intern to screen calls.
Yeah, we need the intern to screen calls, but his mouth is duct tape closed, so he can't talk to you.
Mm.
So, all right. You want to go hit that stop streaming button there, Seth?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun today.
It was fun.
Even just with the short staff, but you guys come back, keep doing what you're doing. We'll have these conversations more often.
That's right. And while he's going up there, I'll go ahead and give you his telephone number. His number is 2